Not even that. Good morning and welcome to the session. I see that our numbers are steadily increasing, so I'm going to give it 1 more minute just for more participants to join, and then we will start with the formal session. So 1 minute to go, and we'll kick off with today's money management session.
Excellent.
Good morning and a warm welcome to all of our participants this morning. I really hope that you are ready for the session and that you've got something to drink, a nice hot cup of coffee or tea or whatever tickles your fancy. Thank you so much for joining us on this formal session today where we will be discussing money management. My name is Liana Henning, and with me today I'm joined by my colleague Tafara. And Tafara, of course, will be managing our meeting chat, and he will be my co-host. So Tafara, welcome, and thank you so much for being on the call with me today.
Good morning to everyone, and thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Tafara. Just 1 or 2 housekeeping rules before we get started. If I could kindly ask everybody to remain muted. Please keep your cameras off. That's, of course, just to ensure good network quality. But if you have any questions, please feel free to connect with us. Tafara will keep an eye on the meeting chat. So will I. And of course, we will be sharing the slides with everyone following the session. We are making use of Menti polling today, and this, of course, is just a fun way for me to engage with the audience. Unfortunately, I'm not in the same room as you, but Menti polling at least gives me some way of engaging with you. How do you participate? All you need to do is click on the link, which I'm sharing in the meeting chat right now, or you can also scan the QR code, which is displayed on the screen. And the ice-breaking question we're asking this morning is, it's Wisdom Wednesday. How are you feeling today? And I can already see some of your responses coming in. Someone feeling powerful and amazing, feeling awesome. So great to see all these positive responses. Thank you so much. If you're not quite sure how to participate, let me remind you, you simply click on the link which is displayed in the meeting chat, and Tafara will be posting it throughout the session, or you can simply take out your smartphone, scan the QR code, and of course your responses will come through. For those of you who feel comfortable enough, you can also communicate with us in the meeting chat. I'm seeing some of your responses coming through, feeling awesome, very good, feeling happy, feeling thankful for everything. And that is great to see all of your positive responses. By glancing at some of the Menti responses, we've got determined, blessed. There's someone saying, I'm feeling tired. I hope that it's at least Wednesday, that you've got a nice weekend to look forward to. And of course, we're seeing some of the responses, seeing overworked, tired, on top of the world, powerful, awesome, blessed, just to mention a few. My eye just caught feeling cold. So please do grab something warm to drink if you can. So in today's session, what will we be covering? And of course, just on behalf of myself, Reality Wellness, and Tafara, we really hope that you are going to enjoy today's session and that you are going to find it insightful. Now, the 4 C's, what exactly are we talking about and what will we be covering in today's session? So the 4Cs really relates to the confidence and the capability of managing your finances effectively. What is the importance of communication and who do you communicate with? What's within our control, what's not, and of course, we'll be touching on some of that cash back, show me the money, as we always say. So please do feel free to ask your questions, pop them into the meeting chat, and of course, we will have enough time at the end of the session to address any further questions as well. But to set the scene around money management and why financial wellness is so important, I think it is important to understand the concept around what does it mean to be resilient. I think we can all agree on the call today that life is not always smooth sailing. It's filled with highs and lows, ups and downs. If we think back to the last 3 years, what we've experienced, nobody could have predicted a pandemic, going into lockdown, not being able to see your loved ones or to even move around freely. Then I think about the war between Russia and Ukraine, which is still ongoing. Nobody could have predicted. And of course, the challenging financial times that we are finding ourselves in. But what does it mean to be resilient? And it really is how we respond to a certain situation that might be coming our way. Can we adapt? Can we survive this situation? How do we recover from this? And can we take anything positive from the experience? Now, one of my favorite motivational speakers is Jay Shetty, and I always like sharing some of his work in my sessions. So today I want to share with you a quick video from Jay Shetty where he says life is almost like a roller coaster. So before I give away too much of this particular video, I'm going to switch my camera off just to ensure good network quality. I'm also going to mute myself, and if I could please just get a thumbs up from our audience that the sound and visual is pulling through. Let's watch.
Marcus Aurelius once said, "It's not death that we should fear never beginning to live." When we die, our lifeline does this. When we're alive, our lifeline does this. Notice how that connects with our real experience of life. Life is full of ups and downs. It means you're alive. Twists and turns. Love and loss. Happiness and sadness, success and failure. We experience extreme highs, peaks, and summits, and at the same time experience the troughs, the lows, and submit. Life is kind of like one big crazy roller coaster. It starts slowly, fills you with anticipation and curiosity, takes you up, and then sends you flying down, only to rise up quickly again. We laugh until it hurts. We cry inside a little. Experience a few moments where we wanted to stop and hope it's all over, but it just keeps going. We somehow think that success is linear, an upward line. There is literally no case study for that. Everyone we admire has ups and downs. Your body mostly replaces itself every 7 to 15 years. The organs that work the hardest have the fastest changeover. You get a whole new skin every 2 to 4 weeks. Your red blood cells last less than half a year, and your liver renews itself at least once every couple of years. The universe is always changing. We are always changing, but we want to remain the same. We settle for security, not recognizing that a flat lifeline means we're dead. Real life is ups and downs. Death looks like this. Every time I see that, I remind myself, this is living, this isn't. In the journey of life, we pass pleasure and pain. There will be sunshine and rain. There will be loss and gain, but we must learn to move forward again and again. Don't judge the moment. Don't try to hang on because it will keep pushing you forward. And remember, this morning, if you're healthy, you're happier than the 1 million people that will not survive this week. If there's food in your fridge, shoes on your feet, clothes on your body, a bed to sleep on, and a roof over your head, you're richer than 75% of people in the world. And if you have a bank account, money in your wallet or a purse, or coins in a jar, you're in the top 8% of the world's wealthiest. We cannot avoid the ups and downs, but we can change the way we see them. Because as Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Marcus.
It certainly remains one of my favorite motivational video clips, and I've seen it so many times, but I'm constantly reminded on how life is not always smooth sailing. And of course, we need to expect the unexpected as well. Now, you might be wondering why I've got all these famous faces on the screen. And did you know that before they reach their success, they too experience some failures, some highs and lows, and some ups and downs?
Be honest, very profound and very inspiring. So I'm guessing the end goal is for us to develop some sort of resilience. Would you mind
Apologies,
sharing with our
Tafara.
audience?
Can I just ask the audience quickly just to remain muted, please? I'm picking up a bit of background noise. So if I could, yeah, I was quickly going to mute everybody, so kindly remain muted, everyone. Please don't mute me, as the audience will unfortunately not be able to hear me. Tafara, I know that you were going into a particular question, so would you mind just repeating that question for me, please?
Yes. Well, I was just saying, I'm guessing the end goal is for us to develop some sort of resilience. So would you mind sharing with us, with the audience, how does one develop financial resilience?
Absolutely, Tafara. I think financial resilience is such an important part of our well-being and existence. And when we look at the definition of resilience, and I think the video from Jay Chetty explains it so beautifully, is that life is never just plain sailing. Life is filled with highs and lows and ups and downs. I guess I could say life happens. And the reality is, when we talk about financial resilience, we need to ask the question, will I be in a position to cope with this unforeseen event that comes my way, and how will it impact me and my household financially? And will I be in a position to bounce back? Because very often times are challenging. And I think the one thing we can expect is the unexpected. So how do we actually build financial resilience? We need to realize that uncertainty is part of our lives, but we also need to think about how well will we cope if there is something that happens that's unforeseen. And as a financial coach and being in the financial industry, I always ask the question, is it going to be a situation where you know exactly what to do, you've got a backup plan, or are you not going to ask the question, but what do I do if? And that big if is, of course, what scares people. What is that uncertainty? And what, of course, then raises concerns when it comes to financial stability and financial resilience. But it is also important when we talk about financial resilience to understand, who do I need to communicate with? Who do I reach out to if I need guidance? Do I speak to my family members? Do I speak to my partner, my spouse, my bank? And of course, in today's session, we'll be covering all of those elements with our audience as well. So it really is a skill. And some of our audience members might think this morning, but I don't think I've got the skill of resilience to cope when there is an unforeseen expense. And don't fear, today we are going to give you some tips and pointers on how to, of course, build that skill. Now, financial resilience really, and this is this what if question that we need to think about. And often in the coaching segment that we are in, we get these case studies and these scenarios. But what do I do if I get divorced? What would be the financial implication? What do I do if my partner or a loved one passes away and maybe they have contributed towards the household income and expenses? What do I do if I or a family member get retrenched and all of a sudden there's a change in our income? Then, of course, there's the positive side of things as well. What do I do if I grow my family financially? What do I do if I cannot cope with all the financial demands of extended family? And so many of us or our audience members today might already put their hands up and say, but I find myself in one of these life stages. I'm feeling like I'm caught up in the sandwich generation where I'm earning my income. And not only am I supporting my own needs, I'm also supporting my extended family. And the squeeze in the middle is becoming quite challenging. So I guess resilience is a skill, something that you can learn, but it's something that you need to practice and in order to improve, of course. But it's not just resilience we're talking about today. We also need to focus a little bit on courage.
Certainly, Liana, it seems like you need a lot of courage to build this resilience. So now we know what financial resilience is. We know how to build it. So, the question that comes up is that, what is financial courage? What are the trends out there when it comes to, financial resilience and the courage?
Thanks, Tafara. And I think it's such an important point to discuss is financial courage. And I don't think it's something that we often think about. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are attending a motivational talk, maybe something like today, and after the talk, you're feeling motivated and you're feeling that you've got the courage and you can now make informed financial decisions. But very often that motivation falls flat after a couple of days. Have you wondered why that happens? And I guess it all links into the type of habits that we have, whether it is our financial habits or whether it is just the way that we do things, whether we are disciplined enough to take the insight and the tips and the pointers that we've received and implement them. We know that times are tough currently. If I look at some of the financial trends, and I always get to this slide and I say it's not very pretty in terms of the information that I share with you, but it's nothing new. I think all consumers experience this. At this point in time in South Africa, our debt to income ratio is sitting at around 76%. And that simply means that for every 100 Rand we earn, 76 Rand is spent on debt. And in our financial wellness world and coaching, we often see this percentage reach heights of 85, 90, even 100% debt to income ratio. As a consumer, I certainly feel that whenever I walk into a food store, a grocery store, it feels like I'm getting less and less items for the money that I've set aside for that week's food. When I fill up my vehicle, when we get into public transport, we feel it. When I open my utility bill, it takes me back to my studies when you're waiting for that result of the exam. And when you actually get it, you don't want to look because you don't want to see what the result is. I'm feeling like that when I open my utility account these days. What is it going to be? And that is, of course, when we do have electricity. So I think we can all agree that times are certainly tough. But do we have the financial resilience and courage to actually bounce back and move forward and, of course, make sure that we make informed financial decisions? And making that informed financial decision all comes down to having the ability and the capability to do so. So you might wonder, but what exactly does it mean to have financial capability? And if we look at the definition of capability, it's having the power to make informed financial decisions. And sadly, we know in South Africa, our financial literacy levels are relatively low. And due to that, people tend to make the wrong financial choices. But to share with you just a bit more insight around whether you have the capability or skill or ability to make informed decisions, I would like to share a quick video clip with you. So once again, I'm switching off my camera to ensure good network quality. And if I could please get a thumbs up from the audience that the sound is pulling through. Let's watch. I'm going to stop the video right there. And this is where we've got our first formal Menti question. So for those of you who participated in the ice-breaking question, your screen will simply now refresh and you will have an opportunity to participate on this question. For those of you who've joined us, good morning, welcome to the session. We are making use of Menti polling. And of course, all you need to do is click on the link which Tafara has shared with you in the meeting chat, or you can scan the QR code which is displayed on the screen right now. And the question I'm asking is, how would you rate your financial ability? Do you feel that you've got the ability to make informed financial choices? Would you rate it as good, average, or poor? And I want to remind you that voting is completely confidential. So please feel free to participate. I can see some of your responses coming in. If you feel comfortable enough, you can, of course, also communicate with us in the meeting chat. So by glancing at some of our responses, it looks like average is taking the #1 spot, followed by good. And some of our participants are saying, it feels like I've got poor financial ability in order to make financial decisions. I'm going to keep this question open and active for those of you who would like to continue participating. Please feel free to do so. Thank you for the responses coming in on the meeting chat. Now, in the little video clip, we saw that it's all about asking the right questions, reaching out, speaking to someone who can support you. And at this point, of course, I want to remind you that you do have access to the wellness program through Reality Wellness. You can simply dial in, speak to one of our independent financial coaches who can help you to check in where are you right now in terms of your current financial position, what would be the need, what would be the concern, what financial goal would you like to achieve, and the financial coach will, of course, assist you to achieve those financial goals. The program is, of course, completely confidential and it is at no cost to you. So while you continue voting and sharing your insight with me on the meeting chat, thank you very much for that. I think we've spoken about resilience, we've spoken about the ability, the capability, but we also need to understand whether we have confidence in terms of making those important financial decisions. And when we talk about confidence as a skill, what does it actually mean? And if you look at the word confidence, it really comes from a Latin word called confidere. And this really means that you've got full trust to make informed financial choices. So do you feel that you've got that confidence in your ability and skill to make informed financial decisions and financial choices? So the reality is when you feel confident, it feels like there's nothing like it. It feels like you can achieve everything that you set out to do. It's a powerful feeling. And of course, I want you to think back and reflect, when in your life did you have that feeling of confidence? How did it feel? Did you feel on top of the world, unstoppable, and that nothing can actually, come in your way in terms of making certain decisions and choices? So financial confidence then, of course, is difficult to define, but there are certain concepts that we could talk about around financial confidence. And I guess the first one really is that self-efficacy, where you want to believe that you can make effective financial choices. And all of us want to believe that we can make the right choices. But do we actually have the self-assurance? Do we believe in ourselves enough in order to follow through on those financial choices? And then, of course, do we have the self-determination, that discipline to actually follow through once we've decided on something? So financial confidence, difficult to define, but there's a couple of concepts that, of course, we can review in terms of that. Now, there is a number of financial implications, and I know, Tafara, you've got some questions around that.
Yes, certainly. It seems as if financial confidence is quite something that's important. So how does one build their financial confidence?
And I think that's an important question, because some of our audience members today might be listening and thinking, right, so how do I build this? I want to make the right financial choices, but I'm not actually quite sure how to do this. And it's interesting when we look at some of the studies that's been conducted in the UK, when they look at adults, that are struggling financially, and they ask the question, but do you feel that you've got the ability and the skill to make informed decisions? The statistics show that those who felt that they don't have the ability and skill seems to be finding themselves in a more severe financial situation. So our next formal Menti polling question would then, of course, be, how would you rate your financial confidence level? Would you say that you are confident, it's good? Would you say it's average? Or would you say it is poor? So once again, if you have voted in the previous question, it would simply now refresh and allow you to vote. Looking at some of our responses, taking the first spot is now good. And secondly, it's average. And as you can see, the polling keeps on changing as we have people participating. Just a reminder, simply click on the link which is shared, scan the QR code which is on the screen, or you can even participate in the meeting chat. So average seems to be taking the lead this morning, followed by good, and some of our participants are saying, I've got poor financial confidence. I'm also keeping an eye on the meeting chat, and there's also a mixture between average, poor, and I'm not seeing any good in the meeting chat. Thank you so much. Keep on voting. So I would like to share with you, how do you actually build financial confidence? And this is one of our last video clips that I want to share with you. So once again, switching off my camera just to ensure good network quality, and I would appreciate a thumbs up that the sound is pulling through. Let's watch.
When faced with a big challenge where potential failure seems to lurk at every corner, maybe you've heard this advice before. Be more confident. And most likely, this is what you think when you hear it. If only it were that simple. But what is confidence? Take the belief that you are valuable, worthwhile, and capable, also known as self-esteem. Add in the optimism that comes when you are certain of your abilities. And then empowered by these, act courageously to face a challenge head on. This is confidence. It turns thoughts into action. So where does confidence even come from? There are several factors that impact confidence. 1, what you're born with, such as your genes, which will impact things like the balance of neurochemicals in your brain. 2, how you're treated. This includes the social pressures of your environment. And 3, the part you have control over, the choices you make, the risks you take, and how you think about and respond to challenges and setbacks. It isn't possible to completely untangle these 3 factors, but the personal choices we make certainly play a major role in confidence development. So, by keeping in mind a few practical tips, we do actually have the power to cultivate our own confidence. Tip 1, a quick fix. There are a few tricks that can give you an immediate confidence boost in the short term. Picture your success when you're beginning a difficult task. Something as simple as listening to music with deep bass. It can promote feelings of power. You can even strike a powerful pose or give yourself a pep talk. Tip 2, believe in your ability to improve. If you're looking for a long-term change, consider the way you think about your abilities and talents. Do you think they are fixed at birth, or that they can be developed, like a muscle? These beliefs matter because they can influence how you act when you're faced with setbacks. If you have a fixed mindset, meaning that you think your talents are locked in place, you might give up, assuming you've discovered something you're not very good at. But if you have a growth mindset and think your abilities can improve, a challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Neuroscience supports the growth mindset. The connections in your brain do get stronger and grow with study and practice. It also turns out, on average, people who have a growth mindset are more successful, getting better grades, and doing better in the face of challenges. Tip 3, practice failure. Face it, you're going to fail sometimes. Everyone does. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 different publishers before one picked up Harry Potter. The Wright brothers built on history's failed attempts at flight, including some of their own, before designing a successful airplane. Studies show that those who fail regularly and keep trying anyway are better equipped to respond to challenges and setbacks in a constructive way. They learn how to try different strategies, ask others for advice, and persevere. So, think of a challenge you want to take on. Realize it's not going to be easy. Accept that you'll make mistakes, and be kind to yourself when you do. Give yourself a pep talk, stand up, and go for it. The excitement you'll feel knowing that whatever the result, you'll have gained greater knowledge and understanding. This is confidence.
I love watching that little video. And I think really the important points I'm taking from that is to think about the things that you need to build confidence around. I love that idea about music, and I love the idea around striking that powerful pose. But of course, we also need to accept that we might not succeed, like they explained about J.K. Rowling and submitting her storyline more than 12 times before she got accepted. And maybe you're listening today and you're thinking about things that you might have done wrong in terms of your financial journey over the last number of years. But as long as you can identify that and you can start working towards changing it and building that confidence so that you can make better financial decisions in future, that's what it's all about. So yes, of course, there are certain financial implications, or there are certain elements that could potentially have an impact on our confidence. And it could be things like your financial past. Maybe you've made that decision that you are regretting today. It all depends on your beliefs around money, whether you believe money is the root of all evil, or whether money is a means to reaching your financial goals. Have you ever found yourself negative talking to yourself, whether you are saying you're never going to earn enough, you're never going to get that increase that you are hoping for? If you do get a bonus, what is the point? You're just going to waste it and you're not going to know what you've spent that money on. Of course, it can be very intimidating if you are finding yourself in financial stress and you're starting to receive those phone calls from your credit providers where you have maybe missed a debit order for that particular month. How do you cope? How do you have that conversation? And then, of course, you might feel overwhelmed by looking at your current debt scenario. Remember earlier on, we spoke about the debt to income ratio in South Africa sitting at around 76%. Now, yes, there's a lot of factors that could have an impact on our financial confidence. We know change in circumstances could be a setback. If you are experiencing a retrenchment in your household, maybe there's loss of income, loss of a loved one. Let's not forget about the financial pressure from family members, whether it is that you are supporting extended family, maybe you are taking care of your elderly parents, maybe you feel like the bank of mom and dad. That's where I am, where you've got young adult children and you are supporting them. I saw a quote the other day, which I shared with my daughters, and it says, having a daughter is almost like having that broke little best friend that think that you are rich and you can constantly just swipe the card or support them financially. We know that young adults and children are moving back into the homes with their, with their families. And how do we cope with those situations? And of course, the cost of living. Let's not forget about that. Inflation, interest rates, electricity, the list goes on. So it is, of course, important to then start building that confidence, building that courage. But how do we actually do it? And I love this quote from Dale Carnegie, where it said, "Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy." So yes, of course, what can we do? How do we get busy in order to build that confidence? And I want to share some of my tips with you. And I think the very first thing is that you need to do is you need to check in. Check in right now. Where are you in terms of your current financial position? What would you say are some of your financial goals? And by checking in, I mean you need to check your budget. What is the outcome of that budget? Are you breaking even? Are you seeing a shortfall? Are you seeing a surplus? And what could you potentially do to change the outcome? Because that should then be your first financial goal. If the budget is reflecting a deficit, the goal should be to flip that around to either breaking even or showing a surplus. How do you do that? Well, you need to focus on what are my financial habits? What am I spending my money on? What can I streamline? And am I disciplined to make these changes? And this quote from Yogi, it says, if you don't know where you are going, you might wind up somewhere else. So if you don't know what your current financial position is, how are you going to get the desired outcome? So then you want to focus on your strengths. And I think we're all familiar with the SWOT process, but this morning we're just going to focus on the S. What are your money strengths? And if you think about what you are doing well in your financial journey, it could be things like maybe you are good at bargaining. Maybe you're good at finding those specials and those bargains. Now, I live in the Randburg area, and on a Thursday, we usually receive the Randburg Sun, and it's filled with advertisements. So I love paging through it to see where can I find this item on sale, what's the special, where can I see 3 for 2, and then of course, I would go and do my grocery shopping over the weekend. But maybe you're good at negotiating. So maybe you're good if you are purchasing something to negotiate the purchase price, to negotiate a discount. When you are applying for finance options, maybe you are really good in terms of negotiating the interest rate or the repayment term. Maybe you are very organized. So if I ask you right now, do you have a will? Who is the will provider? Who is your executive? When last did you update your beneficiary nomination form? Do you know exactly what comes in and goes out of your bank account? Do you know what debit orders are relevant? Are you saving? So when we look at your bank statement and we look at your budget, are we going to see that saving line item? Are you maybe a visionary? Can you look to the future and see what it is that you would like to achieve financially?
So,
And then, of
Rihanna?
course, are you willing to take those risks in terms of your financial decisions? Just a
Rihanna,
reminder,
sorry.
if I could please ask our audience to remain muted and to kindly keep your cameras off just to ensure good network quality. Thank you so much. So on Menti polling, I would love to hear from you. Do you feel that you have money strengths? And it's a simple yes, no, or maybe. And really the purpose of Menti polling is for you to engage. Apologies, I'm seeing a message that I see that my screen has disappeared. Thank you for notifying me. Let's get that up again. So if you could please just confirm. Is it back up? Yeah, looks like it. Thank you so much. Technology is unfortunately not always on our side, but I'm hoping that you can actually see the screen again. I think maybe something happened. I'm seeing a hand waving, so I'm seeing that's a yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for confirming. So while we had that glitch, of course, the question I'm asking, do you have money strengths? And I can see some of your responses coming in. 10 of our participants saying yes. 2 of you are saying no. 6 of you are saying maybe. I'm not too sure whether it is a money strength or not. And then, of course, I'm keeping an eye on the meeting chat where many of you are also saying yes, no. So thank you so much for your participation. I'm keeping this question active and open. So how do we actually build on these strengths, and how do we identify some of our financial habits that we would like to maybe change? Maybe we've got good financial habits and we want to continue with them. So a question that you really need to ask yourself is, if you think about your financial habits, would you say that you have some of your financial habits that you would like to stop doing? And an example of this could potentially be that, let's say you draw a lot of cash and you're not tracking what you're doing with that cash and you don't know what you're spending it on. That could be a financial habit that you would like to stop doing. Maybe you're thinking something I need to do more effectively is budgeting. So that would be a start. How often do you review your budget? Do you have it written down? Is it on a spreadsheet? Do you use an app? What is it that you are doing in order to track your monthly expenses so that you can understand the outcome of your budget. Maybe you're saying to me today, I want to continue with my habit of saving. I'm really good at saving. I pay myself first before my expenses go through. The very first line item on my budget and bank statement would be saving. And of course, that would be a good financial habit that you would want to continue with. But we have to start by expecting the unexpected. Unfortunately, life, remember, filled with highs and lows, ups and downs, and those unexpected events. So how will you prepare for that? Well, the guidance there I would definitely give is to start with an in case of emergency fund. Review your budget. What can you cut out? Is there maybe a daily habit that's costing you money? I'm thinking about one of my habits before COVID. On my way to work every single day, I would stop for that cappuccino. Those days, it was 20 Rand a cappuccino. So really not a lot of money. But if you start adding up that 20 Rand monthly, how much did I spend? Around 440 Rand. Annually, how much did I spend? Just over 5,000 Rand on a cappuccino. So really think about those financial habits that you can stop. You can start taking that money and then put it towards your in case of emergency fund so that you don't get stressed about the unexpected events that might be coming your way. You might also want to start by checking your debt. How are you feeling around your debt? Are you feeling over indebted? Are you managing? Do you have good debt? Do you have bad debt? And what exactly is it costing you? What is your debt to income ratio? And how you do this is you would simply have a look at how much of my income am I spending on debt, and you would divide that by your income, and that would give you your debt to income ratio. And immediately you'll have that aha moment. This is too high. I need to minimize this. I need to start streamlining my debt facilities. A handy tool, of course, is to get a copy of your credit report. Once a year, you've got access to your credit report through TransUnion, Experian, or XDS. And this will give you an indication of the type of debt that you have, how you've been managing your accounts over the last 2 years, and of course, whether any legal action has been taken against your name. I want to invite and encourage you to reach out to the wellness program, speak to a financial coach if you need a little bit of guidance around your debt management. You really want to also streamline that budget. We know that times are tough. We hear this every single day. When you switch on the radio, you listen to the news, you speak to colleagues, friends, and family. But what can you review? What can you streamline in your budget? When you speak to a financial coach, we review your bank statements, and we might pick up things that you already know, but you don't necessarily want to know. So how often do we see Uber Eats going through your bank statements, Mr. Delivery? Do we pick up a habit that on your way home, every afternoon you stop at Woolies and you swipe your card? Those are the type of habits and expenses that you could potentially streamline and, of course, improve on in order to get the desired outcome of what it is that you would like to achieve. But think about your financial consciousness. And very often we go through life, the salary comes in, the debit orders go through, and 5 days after payday, we might not have any money left. In fact, one of the banks did a study not too long ago where they asked the question, the average income earner in South Africa, just how long does your salary last? And the response was, of course, 5 days. And what happens thereafter? And why is it that we are not conscious around the way that we are spending our money? So, of course, we know that financial consciousness is very, very important. And if you look at the definition there, it's all about being aware of what you are spending your money on. So far, I'm not sure if we still have you on the call. It seems like our network is a little unstable.
Yes. Yes, I just
Awesome.
want to find out from you, in terms of, financial consciousness, what does it mean? And how do I, why is it important?
So Tafara, I think it's a good question in terms of financial consciousness, and we're busy talking about the different C's. But consciousness really, if you look at the definition, is that combination of having the knowledge, first of all, but also having the skill and the right attitude and the right behavior in order to achieve the correct or the desired outcome. And I think the key word under consciousness for me really is the word aware. The reality is we cannot change if we're not aware of it. And, you know, the old saying that expecting a different result, but you're doing the same thing over and over again really links to being insane. It's that insanity quote. But you've got to become aware. And the only way to become aware is to check in. How often do you actually check your budget, your bank statements, your debt profile? Are you aware of your protection elements? And do you actually know, who to speak to if you need a little bit of guidance? And there's a number of reasons why financial consciousness is so important. And I want you to really think about your current financial situation. Think about your now. And very often we don't want to think of it because we don't like the answer, or we don't want to talk about it because we don't like what we are going to hear. But I want you to think about, how do you feel about your current situation? So if you had to use an emoji, what type of emoji would it be? Would it be a smiley face? Would it be a sad face, a worried face? Would it be that little face feeling nauseous about your current financial position? And how can you potentially move forward and prioritize your financial situation in order to improve? Now, thinking back to my school years, and I'm sure many of you will remember the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So when you think about your current financial position, how are you prioritizing it? You know, are you spending a lot of money on that, on your shelter, on your home, on your food? Is it maybe for that personal security that you are longing? Maybe it is you spending a lot of money on your relationships. Maybe it's you spending a lot of money for people to respect or like you. And then, of course, maybe it's all about the desire to become something more or to achieve more. So when you think about your financial situation, how would you rate it? Would you say, you know, if you think about it and it's making you feel sad, that it is not your fault? You know, you are a victim of your circumstances. Or maybe you would say it's up to me to take control and to make certain choices and to make certain decisions and certain changes in my current financial position. Or would you maybe say, you know, it's through me, I'm taking control and I'm leading where I want to go in terms of my current financial position? Because I guess very often it's so easy for us just to sit back and say, yeah, but I don't earn enough. The interest rates have just gone up. Inflation keeps on going up. I've got all these family commitments. Yes, that's true. And it is the reality for many of us. But what is within our control? What can we actually do in order to make those changes? So some of the key questions you need to ask yourself when you are checking in terms of your current financial position is, do you budget? And I've spoken about the budget a couple of times this morning already. But you also need to think about, how much time are you setting aside to manage your finances? From there, you really want to think about, do you have the right skill and the ability? And of course, what would your debt situation look like right now? Are you over indebted? Are you feeling that you've got too much debt? Are you coping with your debt? And then when it comes to saving, what percentage of your income are you putting towards saving? So it all links into, if you really reflect on what we've discussed this morning, it's about becoming mindful. And that, of course, is a very, very powerful tool when we think about mindfulness.
Seems as if it's very important to be very mindful in terms of your personal finances. Would you be able to share with us the 24-hour challenge, Liana?
Definitely, Tafara. So this is something that I did in my personal capacity, where I kept on thinking, I'm missing something. I should be changing. Something is amiss in my personal financial life. And of course, I became mindful. And I want our audience to try this 24-hour challenge. And really what it is all about is take one day and really focus on what you are spending your money on. So I'll share this example. I shared with you that usually on my way to work, I would get that cappuccino. But this would be a typical day, you know, so I would stop for the cappuccino and maybe I would notice, okay, but I need to fill up my vehicle. So while I'm getting the cappuccino, I'll fill up the vehicle, not really even checking how much, you know, it's costing me for that cappuccino, filling up the vehicle. And then from there, I would come to the office, I would get busy with my day. Around lunchtime, I would notice that I'm feeling a bit hungry and I would realize I forgot my lunch, and I would quickly either pop out and get something to eat, not paying attention how much I'm spending on it. I'll come back to the office, work, and then of course it would be time to go home. And on my way home, I might realize that I didn't plan for our family meal, and it's now too late, it's load shedding, to try and take out a frozen chicken to prepare for dinner. So what would I do? I would quickly stop and I would get either a takeaway or a ready meal, and that would be my day. And when I started reflecting on this pattern or this habit, I started realizing that this is something that I'm doing quite often. So I needed to become mindful of my spending habits, mindful of how I'm managing my finances, and then, of course, make that decision and effort to change that. And it's hard at first, you know, it takes around 21 days to break a habit, but I can now see the benefit. It's all about planning. It's about being more organized. And of course, this is reducing my stress levels. I'm more aware in terms of what I'm spending my money on, and it's also helping me to make better financial decisions. Now, the last C, or the second last C, of course, is all around communication. And we know that in so many households, we simply just don't talk about our finances. It's a taboo subject. You know, we don't talk to our loved ones. We don't speak to our family members. In our office, we certainly don't stand around the coffee station and ask, how are you coping financially? It's just a taboo subject. But I guess the reality is the more we communicate, the better choices we have, the better decisions we can make. But it's all around, who are you communicating with? Are they actually listening? Are they getting the right message? And long gone are the days where we only communicate, let's say, with your partner or your spouse. We know that the household dynamics have changed quite a bit. So while you're voting on Menti polling, I'm asking the question, when did you last have a money conversation? Is it this week, this month, this year, or do you never have a money conversation? You might ask the question, but who do I actually need to have this conversation with? Now, it could be with your partner, with your spouse. If you are supporting extended family, you need to rope them in. If it's your young adult children, they need to have a clear understanding that there's a certain budget and there are certain boundaries, and we need to be disciplined and we need to stick to that. But of course, you can also communicate and speak to your independent financial coach through the wellness program, who can give you some guidance. So by glancing at your responses, when last did you have a conversation? Many of you are saying this week. Good, I'm glad to see that. This month, this year. Some of you are saying we never have a money conversation. So thank you so much for your participation. So it is vitally important to communicate with that inner circle, but it is also important for you, of course, to communicate with your credit providers. If you are starting to feel that your financial situation is deteriorating, maybe you've missed some of your debit orders, please do reach out and speak to your credit provider. Make that payment arrangement. They don't know what is happening in your life. They don't know that there might have been a change in your circumstances, in your income, that maybe you've lost a loved one and you no longer have that financial support. So please do reach out. Have those conversations, make arrangements so that you don't experience all of that stress. Who is in your tribe? Who are you talking to? Is it your coach, your bank manager? Is it your financial advisor? And of course, is it one of the coaches at Reality Wellness? So reach out and ask for help, build those relationships, vitally important. It really is easier than you think. You simply just need to connect and have that conversation. So then, of course, we know that we also need to focus on what is within our control. And it certainly feels like there's not a lot that is within our control these days. When we look at this control, Tafara, I know that you've got some interesting questions around this.
Yeah, well, the reality is there is a lot which is not in our control. But would you perhaps have examples of things that we can change, things that are within our control when it comes to our finances?
Definitely, and we've spoken a lot this morning about, interest rates, factors that might have an impact on our finances, inflation, cost of living, financial support to family members. But I think we really do need to think about the things that are important to us, the things that we can control, and somewhere in the middle, the focus area should be. So yes, I agree. It certainly feels that there's a lot that's outside of our control. But some of the things that we can control is certainly our spending. So we need to become aware of what we're spending our money on, that mindful challenge. You also need to think about, load shedding is real, and I saw some of the comments. We need to think about it's real. It's not necessarily in my control, but what can I do so that I can still continue, provide, have dinner ready, have lunch ready? What is within my control? What's in my affordability? And then, of course, we need to look at how much we're spending on our cell phones, on our bank charges. That's within our control. When last did you review your bank charges? How are you using your electricity when we do have electricity? How much are you spending on your water consumption? And of course, on that unnecessary stuff. So have you even noticed what you're spending on that stuff? I can't even label it because it's literally just things that we are purchasing that we don't necessarily need. So some of my tips, and I know that we need to start wrapping up, and I would love to have a look at some of the questions in the meeting chat as well, is are you making use of your loyalty programs, of those cashbacks? And of course, depending on where you bank, most of the banks do offer cashback options. I think about the Standard Bank UCount. There's, of course, the FNB eBucks. There's Nedbank Greenbacks, and of course, the cash rewards from Absa. Are you tracking? Do you understand exactly how the cashbacks work? How do you redeem them? Because that could be another source of income, through your debit orders going through the spending, through the petrol that you're using on your petrol card. Do you actually redeem those cashbacks? Now, just looking at some of the feedback in terms of the financial sectors where they've got the most valued loyalty programs, and unfortunately the latest information available is for 2021, you can see that FNB eBucks really taking the lead there, followed by Discovery, and then of course Standard Bank, Investec also there in the mix. So have a look at your reward program through your bank and see where can you benefit from these loyalty programs. Some of the other options that's available to you, not necessarily linked to your bank. I'm thinking about the Clicks Club card. There's the Extra Savings. There's the Pick and Pay card. You name it. When you go to a store, they would ask you, do you have a loyalty card? Must say it's been a little disappointing for me the other day when I looked at one of my shopping cards, my loyalty card, and I've been doing my grocery shopping on this card for years. And when I looked at the cashback, I could hardly afford a particular item that was in my basket. So you do need to look at where you are getting the most rewards and, of course, what's the best benefit for you. So being aware of this is key. You can, of course, download all your cards onto your smartphone if you have one, and you can check out the different apps that are available. Knowledge is power. If you don't know, you will never have the benefit of cashing in. And of course, shop around for the best deals. Make sure that your points don't expire. You want to utilize them, and you can even save up your points. I remember over December on my Dis-Chem card, I had quite a bit of savings, and it was fantastic to do some of the Christmas shopping on the Dis-Chem card. So what can you actually use? When filling up your vehicle, there's also specific rewards on this cashback. So think about your particular cashback and where you need to fill up. Don't be oblivious. If you are getting more points by filling up or using a particular petrol station, then make the effort, go to that particular petrol station in order to receive the reward. So, of course, we need to start wrapping up. I'm hoping that you found the session insightful. My last Menti polling question, of course, would be, did you find the session useful? And then, of course, just to give you some guidance on how do you reach out to the program. If you do want to engage with one of the financial coaches, which is of course at no cost and it is completely confidential to you, you can simply scan the QR code which is displayed on the screen, or you can simply contact us by utilizing one of the following methods, whether you're using the 24-hour line, and of course there's the please call me option, or you can send an email to eppengage@realitywellness.co.za. So Tafara, I'm going to ask you, is there maybe any questions that I might have missed on the meeting chat, anything we need to go back to? And I'm happy to stay on the line for another couple of minutes if there's any questions.
Yes, I think the main question that arose was, how do I reach out to the wellness program? I think you've covered that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much for co-presenting, Tafara, and thank you for our audience members and your engagement on Mentee Polling. I really do appreciate it. Watch this space for more sessions coming your way. That will, of course, be shared with you. So from me and Tafara, it is a goodbye. Thank you so much. Have a blessed Wednesday afternoon. Stay healthy, stay safe until we see each other again. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See the end
Thank
the team.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.